Well, it looks like it's safe to say Apple's first BlackBerry product happened. Now, not phone with the keyboard. I don't want to confuse anybody there, but BlackBerry is pretty synonymous with failure. Apple is not synonymous with failure. And I want to talk about a kind of similar, same kind of vein product because back in the year 2014, BlackBerry actually released a crazy, crazy expensive phone called the Porsche P9983 model. So this phone, this BlackBerry, guess how much it cost in the year 2014? 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, 1,500 bucks, $2,000. This phone was just over $2,000 10 years ago. And yeah, it was a failure. So I want to talk about that because we have Apple's really expensive failure, the Apple Vision Pro. So I've had this. I got it right after launch day. I did not buy this on launch day. I had the sensibility not to spend $2,000 on a very outdated BlackBerry Q10 phone. uh, they changed it up, all right? So we got a sapphire crystal lens over the camera. We got the carbon fiber on the back of the phone. We have Porsche design branding on it. 64 gigabytes of storage back then. Like that was monstrosity. That's basically like a terabyte nowadays. AMOLED display. It had the best keyboard. This right here, the keyboard on the P9983 is the best keyboard ever in the history of mankind making smartphones with keyboards. This phone, I loved it. I wanted it so bad. I could not afford it. I just couldn't afford it back then. But it was already on the trail end. It was one of those things where BlackBerry did kind of like a last ditch. Oh, we'll do this. We'll make a special premium model. They had several Porsche models. They had the P9982, which is based on the Z10, all touchscreen, and then they had the P9983 based on the Q10. Well, Interstage left. We have the Apple Vision Pro. They're crazy, expensive, kind of novelty thing. And I think Apple thought this was going to be the future of computing. Maybe it still will, but at this point in time, it seems like they've all but shuttered the doors on anything that has to do with the Vision Pro over at Apple. They were even going to they canceled the second generation, and I think they're maybe still looking to make some sort of a budget one. I don't know. But yeah, basically $4,000. Very, very expensive product, very, very niche product, not something that was really appealing to the mainstream. And not just because of the type of product it is, because yeah, big XR glasses or mixed reality glasses, whatever you want to call it, and they're so cool. This thing probably has one of the biggest wow factors I've had on a piece of tech in forever. And of course, I bought this. Apple didn't send me anything. Apple wouldn't send me my own phone if I didn't pay them a lot of money for it when it comes out. I don't think they like me much, which is fine. But when it comes to this product, I think it's very safe to say at this point it's been a giant failure. And it looked like it was going to be a big success when it first came out. They had the initial projections, of course, doing the Apple math, where they undersell how many they think they're going to have. So that way they create this artificial demand. So then people want to go get it. Apple's notorious for not putting out enough, creating artificial demand. Well, when it comes to this, they initially said they were going to sell maybe I think like 100 of them or 100,000, 150,000, something like that. I think the end total ended up being a couple 100,000. But yeah, everything we saw after that, after the initial fanfare ran out, was there's no demand. All the people that wanted them bought them. So if this was kind of like a limited production run thing that Apple did, where they're like, all right, we're just going to try this out, push these out there. That's not how Apple does things, though. Apple thinks it's going to be the best. And typically, when you look at the cycle of products, you look at tablets, you look at smartphones, you look at watches, you look at all these things, they're usually not first. Like they're usually not first out of the gate with any sort of technology. They look around and they see what other people are doing, then they copy the homework, change the answers, and somehow come up with generally a better product than other people. Well, that didn't work with this one. And we've got the Quest 2, Quest 3. We've had all the other different Oculus headsets. We've had the HTC headsets, the Vives, and all that. And then this one is different. It's the first one, really, it's an Apple one. It works with your Ecosphere. It works with your MacBook. It does some really cool stuff. Beautiful screen. I mean, it's amazing. Every time you put this on, it looks so clear. It looks so crisp. It looks gorgeous. The touch interactions, all the crazy stuff. They put so much into this. And I respect that. I really do. That they made a really good product. I mean, based off what I paid for it, it's probably worth about that much. But now take a look at them. I actually considered selling mine the other day because I hadn't used it since April. Up until a few days ago, I had not used this since April. I very little interest in using it. When it first came out, it was cool, like the novelty, the exciting factor, and this exciting. I mean, it was probably the most exciting technology I picked up in a long time. I felt very compelled to buy it. I wanted it. Why? Because I'm a big tech nerd, right? I didn't buy this and rush out to make a video and all that crazy stuff. I bought it because I really wanted to use it. And then I got it. I used it for a week or two, mostly watching videos. And then I started kind of seeing the limitations. I started to kind of feel what the product was. And I know some people really love this thing. Like I've got friends who swear by it. They're like, "This has changed my life. It's the most exciting, most consequential piece of tech that I bought in generation." And maybe that's true. And maybe that works for them. But that's another thing I want to talk about with the BlackBerry, because you guys and gals know, if you've been following my channel for any meaningful amount of time, I am the BlackBerry second guy. I was not the original. I mean, I was in my heart, but I did not have an online presence. When BlackBerries were big, I got my first one in 2005. I get the BlackBerry 7100G, very first consumer model. It came to AT&T. I paid like $100 a month for my BlackBerry data program so I could get emails and all that stuff. I have been grabbing novel tech, like stuff that hits the shelves that most people probably will never or shouldn't consider buying. I had a wireless modem with Sprint back in 2003. It was funny. I was still in the Air Force back then, and we had an airplane that crashed in the middle of the woods in the swamp in Louisiana. And I was out there sitting in a Humvee guarding a wrecked airplane crash site for 2 weeks. And there was nothing to do out there except for me, who had a Sprint wireless modem that was a 3 kilobit per second download. 3 kilobits per second. I tried to explain this to my kids the other day because I was like, okay, I could download a song in about 3 hours. It was how long it would take. But yeah, I had internet out there in the middle of nowhere because Sprint had pretty good signal out there. And yeah, I've always been an adopter of these things. And I adopted this. And if some of you remember, I didn't even make a video for a couple of weeks after I had it because I just didn't have an interest. Like my community doesn't really care about this stuff. All the hoopla and the hollering was over. Like nobody, it just wasn't that hot of an item by the time I got mine. So I didn't want to buy it. And it's funny because I had so many people like, "Oh yeah, you're going to return it. You're going to return it." Like I don't buy and return stuff. If I buy and return something, very, very seldom does it ever happen. And you ask my wife, I've got so much wasted money in products sitting around. But if I buy something and if I'm not going to make a review about it, well, I won't buy something and make a review and return it. That's what I'm trying to say. And I've got stuff where I bought it before and I've returned it, and I never even said I had it. So it kind of irked me when people are like, "Oh, you're going to return it, you're going to return it," because so many people were doing that. And like principally, I just don't agree with that. Now, I'm not going to say people are wrong for doing that, but if you buy something with the intent of returning it and then you just do that all the time to make content, like I really feel like that's kind of wrong. But I get it. Sometimes something just doesn't work out. Well, this one, I thought, okay, I like it. I'm going to test it out. I plan on keeping it. There's got to be more cool things that come out for it. And I mean, it hasn't really been the case yet. And also, it really irks me. You can't even use your phone. Like, you can use it with your MacBook and you can see all that cool stuff. It turns this in your monitor, but then you pull up your phone and it's a giant blurry mess. So there's a lot of short-sightedness with this product. No pun intended there, or maybe there was. But yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily applicability. This thing could have been the second coming of Willy Wonka, and people would have probably still not been that interested. It's so expensive. It's hard for people to buy $1,000 phone. It's hard for people to buy a $500 phone. And I felt like this product honestly was a little tone deaf because we're in some of the worst economic shape we've been in a long time, and then have everybody irresponsibly going, "Buy this $4,000 headset, buy this $4,000 headset. Oh my gosh, it's amazing." The amount of commercials posing as reviews on YouTube when I saw this thing, I'm like, good gosh. Like, I get it, contain yourselves. Apple doesn't pay people to make videos, but yeah, there was a lot of fan service for this and making it seem like it was so amazing, you have to have it, it's going to change your life. I did not I was not subject to that, but I bought it. I put it on. I was more amazed than many products I've ever picked up in my life. And then I stopped using it. Why? Well, because it's just not convenient to walk around like this with something on your face all the time. Now I get it. You can walk in the kitchen, you can go and do other stuff, you can set up your screens how you want them, you can use it as a desktop screen and all that stuff, but It's just not practical. It's still big. It's still heavy. This thing is not light. Like, it's not light at all. Pulls down on your face. It's uncomfortable to wear for a long time. And I do feel like they got more right than anybody else to this point when it comes to this product. But there's still a lot of marks that were missed. And ultimately, when you're going to charge $4,000 for a VR headset, basically, don't get on my case. I know what VR is, AR mixed. I'm just calling it a VR headset. Basically, that's kind of what it is. And it's great for entertainment. It's great for using other certain things, but still, at the end of the day, it's very limited. And one thing that really, 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 really irks me, 120 gigabytes of storage, $36.99 or whatever it was, $35.99. They did everybody a giant disservice by not having any real storage. How does this thing not have a terabyte? It's a standalone unit. You can't add any extra storage to it. You cost like almost $4,000. This thing should come with a terabyte. Anyway, it's 128, 256. I can't remember. I don't have the number in front of me. But ultimately, yeah, it was too expensive. It's too narrow of an application. It doesn't have an audience. And the competition for this is like $300 to $500. So it was a luxury product, much like the BlackBerry Porsche P9983, which people look at. And most people, when they saw this, are like, oh, this is cool. People were flocking to the stores to go look at them because it is a really neat thing. But at the end of the day, this Apple Vision Pro is basically the same as my BlackBerry Porsche P9983. Something that will be supported, that's cool, some people will love, and then it's just going to fade into obscurity and until they try again. I'm sure we're going to get a budget model, and that's just because Apple doesn't quit. Like, they felt like they were right. They're going to vindicate themselves somehow with a cheaper model, which will probably be a rehash with some things that they put cheaper components, and they'll be like, oh, now you can get one for $2,000. But yeah, it's kind of a disappointment because it just didn't really live up to, I think, the expectations that people set for it, that Apple made it seem like you're going to be able to do. And it's going to be able to do more things. It will. It's getting more apps, more compatibility stuff, and it's really cool. And if you use it all the time and it works into your daily life and your workflow, cool. I'm not trying to offend anybody. If you like it, I'm glad you like it. I like it. But it just doesn't fit into my life. And until we get something like this that really is a little bit more practical, a little bit less tethered to something like having all this giant apparatus, the cable, the battery, all that stuff, we need it in glasses. Like, it needs to be in glasses. It needs to be something that's lighter, something that has better battery, something that's way less expensive. And I think they're building the foundations for this now. They really are. But Apple Vision Pro, biggest waste of money I think I've ever spent in my life. And I wasted money on a lot of things, like a whole lot of things. But anyway, so I'm going to wrap this one up. This isn't like one of those gotcha, told you so's, whatever. Like, I know some people in the comments be like, I told you you shouldn't have bought it. I'm not upset that I bought it. I am kind of disappointed as a tech enthusiast that really it is what it is. We'll see how things go with it moving forward. But yeah, they're going to have to do something to fix this. And all the things they need to do to fix it are contrary to what Apple does as a business. They don't drop prices. They don't admit they're wrong. They would have to make a follow-up model that's way cheaper, and then they would have to admit that they charge way too much money for this, and it wasn't ready. Like, it really did look and feel, and the operating system seemed like a beta whenever it got here. It still feels kind of like a beta. So I don't know how Apple's going to address this. I don't know what the path moving forward is. Ultimately, it's really cool. And it's great to watch movies on this. It's great to do some of the apps and things like that. But $4,000 for this thing, giant waste of money. Anyway, at least for me. So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, gripes, complaints, I told you so's, whatevers, go to the comment section. We'll talk about it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and a little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.